Hello and welcome to The Good, The Bad and The Worst, a podcast where we watch movie trilogies and decide which movie is rich, good-looking, and has a rapist's wit. I'm your host, Griner, and joining me tonight...
I'm Luke Morgan. We got no food, we got no jobs, our pets' heads are falling off.
And Mother's going, "G'day, mate. Let's throw another shrimp on the barbie."
That's not.
Boys, we're doing Dumb and Dumber. I have something I need to talk to you about this, Luke. But we'll get there because this was your pick. But first, Conan, was Dumb and Dumber a movie you watched as a kid? Do you have a history with this movie?
So yes and no, and yes, more so than I realized. Right, like my most iconic memory of it is the Mad magazine cover that was riffing on this. And for some reason, that's imprinted in my head. Like I can still remember it really well. And yeah, this kind of movie, I know I've seen it, but then rewatching it, I'm like, man, I've actually seen this a lot of times. I think we must have watched this a lot as family, especially because, Luke, like you said last week, Dumb and Dumberer, I have even more memories of seeing as a kid. And the only reason we would have rented that is because we liked the first one.
Yeah.
But it occupies this weird space, where I don't really remember it well, or in my mind, I'm like, I don't have any connection to this movie. But then when I watch it, I'm like, yeah, I must have seen this 1,000 times, and it is really funny, and I do quote it a lot, but it's not like, I don't hold it near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, I was the same. Like I've seen this movie for sure. I don't hold it near and dear. I don't think I've seen it a lot. And then like scenes were playing out in my head as they were coming on, and quotes were like replaying in my mind. I'm like, holy crap! I must have watched this movie a lot.
Yes.
But I hadn't seen either of the other two. Luke, this is your pick. I assume you have fond memories of this as a kid.
So obviously, I might not have had such a traumatic childhood, so I haven't repressed it as much as you two, but that's like, I hadn't watched it in a long time. Like I hadn't watched this movie in probably, 15, 20 years. And I felt like, and the scenes that as soon as it was about to come on, I was like, oh, that's right. And then this happens. But I just felt like as a child, this movie was just on all the time. My brothers just had it on the TV all the time. My family and I quote stuff all the time. Just like, not even like, oh, we're quoting this thing. Like my brother will just be sitting there and we'll just be chilling. And he'll just be like, "You want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?" And then he'll do like it. It's the thing. We troll each other a lot, and just there's so many little things, little moments that aren't like big jokes that people remember. Like I was like, oh, in my head, I know exactly what Harry's face is like when this dude eats the burger, and he's just like looking at him, and he's like, "How's your burger?" And the face he pulls, like it's something that's made me laugh over the years. And yeah, I would really wanted to watch it again. My wife hadn't seen it in a long time, but she was like, "Yeah, I remember funny." And as we were watching it, she was like, "Okay, that's right." I like she had that memory from watching it when she was a kid too. So I think it's just in the '90s. This just must have been gangbusters, man. Everyone was watching this movie. So
Everyone's just watching Jim Carrey. Like
yeah.
I see in my very witty letterbox review for this, it was just simply saying Jim Carrey is the greatest actor of the '90s, and I think I stand by that. Like he owned that decade.
Yeah,
he made such an impact on comedy and on the world. Like, 1994, he has like I think 3 or 4 movies come out.
Like you think Ace Ventura, Cable Guy, all these like huge iconic things that people of our generation all know, like quotes from those movies. Even if we haven't watched their movies in 20 years, we know all the quotes from their movies.
For sure.
So,
watching this, it brought back so many memories of primary school of like people just quoting these movies and trying to reenact Jim Carrey. And you're right, it's 100% was Jim Carrey. I don't think does anybody care about Jeff Daniels in these movies? Like obviously he's important to the plot, and you can't just you probably can just watch Jim Carrey do this for 2 hours, but does it like I don't think anybody quotes him or tries to reenact his mannerisms, right?
No, there's a handful of like lines that he has that are funny, and like the the shitting scene at the end is purely Jeff Daniels magic.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like this is 90% like Jim Carrey thing. Like before this movie was made, I think they were both on pretty small salaries. Jeff Daniels took like $400K or something for this role, and then after Ace Ventura and The Mask come out, Jim Carrey's salary goes up to like $6 million or something. So it just goes up by like over 1,000% sort of thing. and Jeff Daniels is making pennies on the dollar for it. But it just kind of goes to say, yeah, the power that this one guy had to like, I don't know, almost like double a movie's budget just on his salary alone. And then it goes on to make it like pretty nuts.
I just want to say, like, with Jeff Daniels, the things I remember the most of him before watching this again was, like, the car at the start. Like, I feel like that's an iconic scene of him feeding the dogs and them skidding around in the back. How's your burger? The toilet scene. And I love when he's just like, his head fell off. He's talking about his bird. He's sitting in his apartment all depressed. It's just great. He was pretty old.
He was pretty old. Like, they've got a really good dynamic, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, before we move on from Jim Carrey, I just want to say I heard a weird stat the other day that surprised me. You know, Jim Carrey is the first person to get to earn $20 million for a performance.
Really?
And can you guess what movie it is? You won't. We've already mentioned
Bruce
it
Almighty.
No. No.
It'd be the Cable guy.
It was the Cable guy.
Yeah.
I was going to say that.
$20 million for the Cable guy. Like, that's crazy. Crazy.
The awful script from the Cable guy.
And I haven't watched that in a long time.
No, me either. So Luke, look, we've talked. I mean, it even came up last week. You know, you said you're not a fan of crass humor. You don't like lowbrow humor. You're not a fan of Will Ferrell comedies and movies like Step Brothers. They're a bit beneath you. But you seem to have a soft spot for Dumb and Dumber. What makes Dumb and Dumber different to those movies?
So it might just be nostalgia. It might just be nostalgia clearing my mind. I also think it's like we've already talked about, like Jim Carrey, I think is so extra that you got to give it to him, and it's this, I don't know, there's lowbrow humor in this, obviously, but I feel like the stuff that's the most lowbrow in this isn't the stuff that I find the funniest, like his whole dream scenario of him with Mary and all that sort of stuff. The thing I remember the most from that is him putting his hand through the dude's chest to pulling his heart out and putting it in a doggy bag, all like the sexual pervert kind of stuff and other lowbrow stuff. I don't find that funny even still now. And I don't know. I mean, you can't lie. Him trying to make out with somebody has like a big open mouth, stuck it on their face. It's pretty horrific, but. It's different. It's different. I don't know. Like we watched Clerks 2 last trilogy, and I like shitted on that because I thought that was like the most abhorrent, disgrace to comedy. And and it could just be nostalgia because I don't know.
It's just I just find it funny because I feel like you almost are like. You're almost mad about how much you dislike Step Brothers and you disliked Clerks 2, but this movie somehow breaks through your heart of stone and strikes your funny bone. I don't know.
Appeals to your wit.
It must be my family's influence. Just knowing that my dad and my brothers all laugh at these scenes, and I saw it as a child.
Like you can't separate the nostalgia and like when you watch these comedies. Like you can't separate the experience from that, right? And I was thinking about it with like Ace Ventura. I think Ace Ventura is probably my favorite Jim Carrey movie.
Yep.
And there are so many people who just loathe that movie. They're like, "There's nothing funny about this," and I'm like, "Wrong! It's literally the funniest movie made." And look, but a big part of that is just I saw it as a kid, and Jim Carrey has a certain magic that appeals to you when you're younger. I think like. If you put a 30-year-old in front of Jim Carrey, they're probably not going to really get it. They're not going to really appreciate some of the wild gesticulating. But these movies were made for like people of all age. They're sort of made for families to enjoy. Kids to think they're hilarious, parents to go, yeah, that's pretty funny in parts. But so when you grow up, grow up seeing Jim Carrey and stuff, I think it's just like that. You can't not like that because it's part of your comedic DNA.
Like I feel like. If we were to watch it now, like Ace Ventura, which I haven't seen since I was a kid, again, like all these Jim Carrey comedies, I haven't seen them since the 90s, basically. I don't know how much I would enjoy Ace Ventura, but in my mind, I love that Ace Ventura from back then. And I feel like my kids now would love Ace Ventura. Like my daughter, I feel like Ace Ventura's type of humor would be right up her alley, She would be finding it hilarious. And there's something about it that is so wacky and just like, it's kids acting, in a way. Like it's absurd stuff. And
well, Ace Ventura gets regular replays in our house, and I'll tell you, it holds up. It holds up. Yep,
I watched
it not that long ago. In my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, it's just the slapstickiness. Like Jim Carrey embodies that both like he's got the jokes and the timing and everything, but it's just the physicality of it.
Yeah.
It's the gesticulating, the vocal work. Like slapstick just translates, and even though maybe the heights of comedy, maybe slapstick can't quite get to the heights that other comedy can.
Yep.
But it's just so like inherently funny because there's just we just think it's funny when you see someone fall over, like it's. And so when you get someone who masters that, it's like kind of impossible to think it's not funny in some way because it's just like, I don't know. It's like it scratches our animal brain. And it's like we're all programmed to find something like that funny. So seeing this guy just know exactly how to move his body and speak in a way that just like hits that part of your brain is an art to see. It's like, it's amazing.
It is. Yep. And like Jim Carrey, in my opinion, is the greatest, like, slapstick physical comedian for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Shall we jump into some stats?
Stats.
Dumb and Dumber came out in 1994, had a budget of $17 million, made $247 million at the worldwide box office. Dumb and Dumberer, When Harry Met Lloyd, came out in 2003, had a $19 million budget, made $39 million at the box office. And Dumb and Dumber 2, 2014, $40 million budget, made $169 million worldwide.
Wow.
Yeah, it made a bit of money. I remember there being some hype for it. I didn't realize it was a 2014 movie, to be honest. I thought it was like...
But it came out last year.
I know. I thought it was like 2021 for some reason. I thought it was really recent.
I was certain of it.
No. I have that movie like scarred in my head from when I was at the video store because it was on the loop DVD.
All right.
And so I've seen that. I've seen the trailer 10,000 times. I've heard the interview with Jim Carrey where he's like, Dumb and Dumber is lightning in a bottle. And just like,
look at you going into PTSD.
Honestly, like I can hear it sometimes. And every time I think of Dumb and Dumber, I hear those trailers again. And
the critical reception for these movies. Now, look, Metacritic is not very favourable to these movies. And I feel like that's pretty common amongst this kind of comedy. So I've included some IMDb scores in here too, just to balance them out with some user opinions. So Dumb and Dumber, Metacritic score of 41. But the IMDb score is 7.3. Dumb and Dumberer, 19 on Metacritic, 3.4 on IMDb, and Dumb and Dumber 2, 36 on Metacritic, not that far behind the first one, and then 5.6 on IMDb.
Man, I have some opinions on critic scores of these movies. I'll tell you what.
It's interesting to see like how poorly comedy generally does. This style of comedy, I guess, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, like this is a conversation we have every time we do comedy. It's just it's not a critical genre. I can't think of it. No, it's not true. There are very few comedies that are ever like ultra successful and culturally impactful. Their critics are also like 10 out of 10. The ones I guess the only ones that would be different is like the Cornetto's trilogy and
Superbad.
Maybe like Superbad did do all right.
There's that whole period with Pineapple Express.
76 on Metascore.
So there's that. Yeah, so there's two. But then even things like the whole Apatow,
40-Year-Old Virgin,
Michaela, those guys, like Napoleon Dynamite was critically reviled, but I would argue is like one of the biggest comedies of the century.
Yeah.
Comedy's just a weird genre for critical assessment.
It is. And I think comedy's so... Like, it either hits with you or it doesn't. Like, there's not... It's hard to really critically appraise something that doesn't hit with you, I think. Yes. Like, I think it's a lot easier when you're watching a drama or even a horror, like something that even if it doesn't hit with you, you can still see the craft in it.
Yeah.
But I think comedy's so reliant on being funny and hitting with you. How do you even subjectively review that?
That's right, because it's like, if it's not making you laugh, you can't really say, but it's succeeding. You can only see it as a failure. So you're right. If your sense of humor doesn't gel, it's not going to fly.
All right, let's jump into Dumb and Dumber. I've lost the plot. After a woman leaves a briefcase at the airport terminal, a dumb limo driver and his dumber friend set out on a hilarious cross-country road trip to Aspen to return it.
Do we really think Harry's the dumber of the two?
Yeah,
who is dumb
it's interesting.
And who's dumber?
Lloyd is dumber.
Yeah, Lloyd is absolutely dumber.
Harry is nearly like the straight man, almost.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah,
he's got more of that energy for sure. mean, I've never really sat down and been like, who's dumber out of these two?
Oh no, no.
Well, Lloyd has more confidence. Like, so
True.
I guess it's like, I know, is confidence and intelligence, are they linked? I don't know. I'm not a psychologist.
I know a lot of dumb people who are very confident.
I
Very
think I
confident.
think confidence amplifies either way, intelligence or lack thereof.
All right, that's rough. Look, this movie is really good. I
held
kind
up
of
for both of you.
Sorry,
it totally did it hold up?
hold up.
It yeah. I think it's for all those sort of reasons we said. Like, I think the comedy here is really broad. Like, it's a lot of simple sort of jokes that just work. You know, like from the very opening, right? Like, it's this kind of funny scenario. He mistakes Austria for Australia. That's funny, and like that's something that people quoted. We all still quote to this day, I think.
Yeah.
But then, like in the air, as soon as he picks her up, he's like, you go to the airport. What gave it away? You know, it's like,
The luggage and the tickets. Like, I put two and two together.
Yeah. And that's just really basically funny. Like, yeah, this guy's really aloof. He's really naive. Like, that's just all these really simple, broad jokes that are like the kind of joke you could just tell in a room and you'd get laughs from anybody because they're not pointed. They're not too witty to understand. They're not hurtful. They're just like, here is just a funny joke in the most basic level. And so, like, there's some things that probably don't hold up in terms of I don't know. I don't know if this one really has questionable sexual politics.
It's not that bad. Like, there's not. Like, I was surprised. There's not. You know, there's very few gay jokes or anything like that. Like, there really is a lot of things from that time that you kind of expect. But yeah, they really don't. It's just not present here.
Seabass is gay. It's got representation.
That's true. And he's a real good guy. Yeah, that's true, actually. Like, yeah, they don't also... I don't even know if they ever drop, like... They never say retard or anything. Like, they don't really... They never make fun of these guys for being sort of, like, genuinely having, like, mental challenges or something, right? They're like... They kind of rise around, like, are they just really stupid in, like, the fully functional sense? Or do they have some genuine, like, I don't know, psychological issues?
Yeah.
And it kind of straddles that well, where it never is. It's something that gets lost in the other ones, where there's never the question of like, is it cruel to laugh at them? It's like, no, yes. I don't think so, but like, I'm almost there. But yeah, it just rides that line really well.
The bad guys think they're geniuses. The bad guys like, damn, these guys are good.
Yeah.
Like at every corner, they've got us beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're interesting characters. I don't know. They want, like, part of me trying to look at them objectively and their actions. Like, you can't root for them in some ways. Like, they're extremely dumb. They can be very cruel. Like, as funny as it is, selling the dead bird to the blind kid, it's a bad thing to do. Like, running out and not paying your check at the restaurant. Like, they do bad things, and I don't know. I was kind of reminded of
spat in their burger.
Oh, look, it's an intricate web. There's a lot of factors at play here, but I mean, I think selling the dead bird to the blind kid, and knowing full well what he had done, like it's not like he sold it to him thinking it was alive or anything like that. Like
he taped its head back
on. You know, Lloyd's a bad person. I'm not sure Harry is much better.
Well, Harry's the enabler, and you know who's really worse in that relationship.
Lloyd thinks he, you know, like slept with Harry's girlfriend, Rhoda Felcher. You know, he's like, oh yeah, no, I slept with her, and that comes back later. But yeah, Lloyd, there's a lot of things about him where he's not a good dude, but you still root for them, though. Like, do you not?
Like you're invested in their like you're invested in them just because you just feel sorry for them more than anything. Like they're clearly so dumb and so unable to really function properly that you kind of want to see some success. But it is interesting, yeah. Like they do some pretty heinous things. It's like these guys are scumbags, but it's also you poor little guys. Just good on you for getting out there, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I was watching it, and I was a little bit reminded of Always Sunny, where that's another group of characters that are incredibly dumb and incredibly cruel, But in Always Sunny, they kind of always get their comeuppance. Like, they very rarely end up winning at the end. Whereas they don't really, that doesn't happen here. Like, these guys spend a briefcase full of millions of dollars and just write some IOUs on the back of napkins and walk away. Like,
but it's like, it's ill-gotten, right? Like, the comeuppance is kind of is like the awareness that these guys are complete dumb losers. So even though it's like they might be getting away with it, you're like, you kind of know their lives are much worse. You know, their heads fell off. Like, they're spending all this money that was, they don't know it, but like, we know that's illegally, it's been illegal. Yeah, by like an inside job or something. Then the story of this movie makes no sense. I think what you said before, Luke, about that, having kind of the secondary arc of these guys trying to kill them and thinking they're geniuses does a lot to serve that purpose.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're like, you're sort of looking at it by having them be like these guys. Yeah, exactly. Like, by having truly bad people after them, you naturally want them to survive. But by also having them kind of be perceived this way outside of their own, like, we know they're stupid, but the whole world perceives them as smarter. I don't know. There's kind of like, it balances the comeuppance in that way, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, I don't know.
And I guess they don't really like win at the end. They don't walk away with that money. They splurge it all, spend it all, and then they don't get the girl. They don't get on the bus with all the bikini models. Like,
I'd forgotten about that scene until it happened.
It's real dumb. It's real dumb.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I love there's so many little things that I love in this. I love the whole thing of the two killers tracking them down at the start, you know, and when they're there, they're just like, "Did you pay the gas bill?" Like, they think that the people outside with guns are because they didn't pay the gas bill, and he's just like, "No, these people have been tailing me for weeks. Look at this gas man. How does he know I have gas?" They give the dude rat poison.
Like, yeah. I love that.
They
like,
literally kill a man,
Yeah. Like, there's some internal questions there of like, how do they leave a crime scene after this guy dies? And he's like, oh, these people ran out afterwards. I wrote down, like, this is the first version of the "it's just a prank, bro."
Yeah. It was just a goof.
Yeah, and they put it on there, just kill a guy. It's just a prank. What do we do?
Yeah. Oh man, it's good.
There's lots of scenes that like burned into my brain. Where he's like fantasizing about his life with Mary.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
And it's just like he's telling a joke at a dinner party or whatever. Everybody is just laughing their heads off, and it's a really dumb joke. And then he lights a fart on fire. I remember people trying that as a kid because they thought it was so funny.
Yeah.
And
like, they try to redo that scene in every other movie, and I'm not sure it ever works as well as it does here.
No. Yeah. No, never as good.
No. There's the I don't know, the cop drinking the urine in the empty bottles. His reaction, I don't know, just always gets me every time.
Is this the weirdest things on the?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Sir. That's the thing. That's the thing, and all that stuff is burned in your head. Like, you know the way that dude's face ticks for that stuff. It's like, it's all this physical comedy that people went over the top, but it didn't feel silly. You know, it felt, I don't know. Like, it is silly, but
it's funny though. That's okay.
You don't look back and go, "Oh, that's stupid." Like, watching today, sort of thing.
It's not gonzo. Like, it's not crazy. Sort of. It's not too outlandish. Like, it's again, it's always in the realm of believability. Where that, like, they've pissed in beer bottles, like killing the guy with heart medicine with a poison instead of heart medicine is like, it's far fetched, but it's believable. It's not like, I don't know. It's not like full blown. I don't know. It's not like Anchorman's battle royale where everybody.
Sure.
There's a fight down. It's like it doesn't strain your credulity too much, which I think helps it. I think, or it's just at least a different type of comedy, right?
Yeah.
Like, it would, if it was just two guys and like their incredibly zany adventures, it would probably be a lot dumber. But by having it sort of grounded in reality, I think it makes it. It just kind of highlights their antics a bit more.
Yeah.
Everyone else around them is normal. Like, it's like everyone else is a normal functioning person for the most part. They wipe out one of the last owls in the Snow Owl. Cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, who didn't want to dress up in the blue and orange suits? Like, I feel like they're iconic as well, you know?
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to in the year 12 social. I did.
Really? Like 12 years after the fact?
I totally did. Me and one of my mates wanted to. We couldn't find them.
I can imagine in 94, 95, but I know.
So many people would have done it. So many people would have done it in the 90s. Like those suits would
sure.
flying off the shelves.
It's funny, like the road trip narrative of this is like the story's complete nonsense, right? This weird there's a kidnapping plot or something.
Yeah, the whole other layer is very strange.
It's very strange, but thinking about it, like it's the best thing for it because, like you said, Luke, you have all these scenes that are ingrained in your mind. Like having a road trip, you can just have all these little vignettes. They can stop at the diner and have one little and it's like by having that direct trip from A to B, you can just have little moments and they all stand out. It's like here's the funny moment that happens here, they're here, and here, and here, and here, and then you're at the goal. Whereas I think, especially in the second one where there's no journey, it's like you're kind of stuck. And by having that lack of momentum, it's harder to make those jokes of just like, let's find things to be funny.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a really good, and it works as well having a story that's complete nonsense. It's just like these faceless kidnappers for some reason. It's like, it's just an excuse to give them money and have them dress up in suits. Yep. It's like, really clever, like a really clever way to structure the movie.
Yep.
Lloyd having 2 pairs on the gloves as Harry standing there freezing in front of the eyes. He's like, "Oh, you're really cold. Here, let me take off my second pair of gloves."
My hands are starting to get sweaty.
Yeah.
He's like, "You've had 2 gloves on this all day?" He's like, "Yeah, it's really cold." Oh man, I don't know why, but like obviously just being a dumb kid watching these movies, but like the way they dress after they get all that money, like I used to think of that as like the epitome of wealth, like really bright costumes they're wearing as they pull up in the car and everything like that. I was just like, one day this is like this is elite level of living.
One day you're just gonna throw hundreds at your servants.
Just there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. But did you guys know anything about the Farrelly brothers? So they wrote and directed this, right? Do you guys have any relationship, or like, do you know those names at all?
Farrelly like rings a bell,
Farrelly,
but it's I've heard it before, but it doesn't mean anything to me.
Look,
I feel like I always just associated it with this, like I can see that name in the intro credits, sort of thing.
Yeah,
that's really it.
Because I'm similar. Like there are a pair of names that I know, but like. I've never sort of been like, oh yeah, they have an iconic, I don't know, resume of films, but they really do. Like they kind of made the '90s comedies in a lot of ways. Like I would almost put them in the same tier as like the McKay, Apatow sort of people.
Yeah.
Like they're just the ones that came before them because this was their first movie, huge success.
They got
first directed movie.
Damn.
So obviously, like I'm not sure what they did before this. I'm sure they came from somewhere.
They did an episode of Seinfeld before this.
That's it. And that's where they honed their genius. Yuck. Late bad show. Anyway, after this, they make Kingpin. Then 2 years later, they make There's Something About Mary, which is...
man, what another classic.
Yeah.
That's the kind of one that I have zero connection or care for, but
really?
everyone else in the world is like best comedy of the 90s. People love this.
I'm the same, but he gets regular play on like free to air these days.
Yeah,
I've occasionally caught bits of it and I'm like, this is not that bad. Like, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Like I've seen it, I think it's okay, but it's just I feel like it's bigger than I would give it credit for. Yeah. But then they got like Me, Myself, and Irene, Osmosis Jones, Shallow House, Stuck on You, few mediocre, and then like they start to get mediocre. But then it's funny, Peter Farrelly goes on to direct Green Book to become an Oscar winner, which is weird.
Oh, really? I mean, I love that movie. That's
wrote and directed it, like all over that. Yeah.
So it's just these guys are like they are like the daddies of comedy for the 90s, and they keep making movies in the 2000s and stuff. Like, I don't know.
Me, Myself, and Irene is another iconic Jim Carrey movie that I feel like so many people will remember.
I have not seen that movie.
Really?
No, I haven't.
Oh man,
I've
got an idea for a trilogy. You'll have to bear with me.
Is it just Me, Myself, and Irene? Because
the three of them.
Yeah. No. But it's like I think they kind of get lost a little bit. Like our generation might not know them as well. But I don't know, like just looking at this, I'm like, man, these guys really did do a lot for comedy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 90s comedy, 100%.
Yeah. My other 4 favorite quotes that I had here, I just need to mention real quick. We're in the pullover scene, but he's like, pull over, and now he goes, no, it's a cardigan, but thanks for noticing. Really funny. When he's like complaining about his girlfriend, he's like, she's saying some crap about not listening. I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention.
I wasn't really listening.
It's great. And the other one is when he comes out, they come out of the 7-Eleven. He's like, "Hey guys, big gulps, huh?
Big gulps, huh?
Well, catch you later."
Well,
It's fucking good.
I've heard that was improvised. I heard that they were just there where they were filming, and he just came out and said that to them, and they was just like, "All
Yeah,
right, well, catch you later." It was
apparently.
funny. Something simple
Yeah.
like that is funny. Harry lighting himself on fire at the gas stop interrupts Seabass.
It's such a weird.
He's trying to get her to right, give her his number,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah,
like
that's-
struggling to remember.
yeah.
She's like, "Oh wait, that's my old number. Isn't that funny?" It's just like losing temper.
Just give me the number. Yeah.
No, they're both really good, and like the little scooter and just riding it into Aspen,
In the
frozen
cold,
particles.
yeah.
They just stuck to each other. It's just, it's good stuff.
Aspen is another thing. Like Aspen as a place I've never known about, but like, sorry, I know about so well, but I know nothing about it except in this movie. And it's just kind of like I've always been like, oh yeah, there's a place in America called Aspen. It snows
It's really
there.
snowy and
it's always really cold. And so whenever people mention it, I'm like, oh, the place from Dumb and Dumber. So that's
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Cultural relevance. Yeah.
All right, shall we move away from this good movie to some others? Dumb and Dumberer, When Harry Met Lloyd. Set back in the 80s when Harry met Lloyd in high school, when they crossed paths with a mean principal and a bunch of other outcasts, much like themselves. Yeah.
Are they meant to be outcasts? Are they outcasts or are they bad people?
Well, both. I mean,
Yeah.
This is Harry's first year at school, if we're to believe it. Like, he's been homeschooled. Lloyd's been held back several times.
Yep.
By his dad, the janitor.
Yep.
Oh, Louise Guzman.
Yep.
So Grant, you hadn't seen this before.
No, I hadn't seen it.
What were your thoughts?
My first thought was like, this isn't a good movie by any means, but it's made worse by trying to be a Dumb and Dumber movie, by trying to emulate, in particular, Jim Carrey. Like, as a movie from the early 2000s, it's probably fine, my thought, if it wasn't trying to be, like, if it wasn't Dumb and Dumber.
So if this was a standalone comedy, you would have thought it would...
I think it would just fill in with the rest of the other kind of bad comedies from that time. Like, because I think this movie's kind of renowned for being bad, right? Like, it kind of has a bit of a stink on it. They don't, like, even Dumb and Dumber 2 totally retcons anything that happens in this movie. Like, parents not the same, all that stuff. So, yeah. I'm not sure it deserves. I think it would just. I think it'd be a forgotten movie if it wasn't a Dumb and Dumber movie as well. But I don't think it would be, renowned as being so terrible.
I feel like unfairly renowned as being terrible.
Because you said that you had a relationship with this movie.
A weird one. Like 100%. I always knew, like, if I ever went back to this movie, it wasn't going to be great. I knew that going into this because it'd been a long time since I've seen it. But like, this is another movie. So as a teenager, like, me and my mates in high school watched this film all the time. Like, sorry, sidetrack. Last thing I'll just say: the first movie also banging soundtrack. First movie has a banging soundtrack.
Does it?
It does, totally does.
Okay.
This one as well, like, there's songs like the Air Supply, Making Love Out of Nothing at All song. That's still on all my playlists, and it's from this movie. Like, I found that song in this movie, and that montage, like, I remember just watching that with my mates a bunch of time. We found that montage super hilarious. There's jokes in this movie. I mean, I was still laughing out loud in this movie. This movie has 10% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it is not a 10% movie. And I kind of disagree with what you're saying, Grant, because I feel like a strength of these movies, as much as they're not great. They're nowhere near the first one. I really like the performance of the main two characters. And I feel like they feel like a younger version of Harry and Lloyd. I think they do great in this movie, I feel like.
I half agree. I think Derek Richardson as Harry Dunn's bad. I think
Yeah, I agree.
I think Eric Christian Olsen though does an incredible Jim Carrey performance.
Absolutely. Like
Actually,
to stand up against the greatest comedy actor of all
Yeah.
time and to do an all right job. Like
Like
some of his
he,
mannerisms are great with him.
yeah, and I think he emulates it like shockingly well.
no, I did have that thought too. Like, I'm not trying to say that they had a bad performance, Luke, but I think
Yeah.
if this,
No, I get that.
like I say, like there's big shoes to fill here to be a Dumb and Dumber movie. People,
Yeah.
you know, people, you know, have a lot of nostalgia for that movie. Obviously, a sequel is going to have a high expectation, and I think this movie suffers from that. Is what I'm trying to say. I agree. I think Eric Christian Olsen and his tiny nipples were great. Like, I think he really, yeah. There's the scene at the start where he's dancing, and I'm like, holy shit! Like he's got that pretty well down. But yeah, Harry's the actor, not so much. But yeah,
There's some stuff that's funny with Harry though. Like I have always found and always revered the bathroom scene with the toilet incident in this one, with what's his name?
Bob Saget.
That is hilarious, and that is still hilarious to this day.
Yeah,
I was in stitches, man. And Bob Saget makes that scene 100%.
It's
but
really
it's so good. It's so good, man.
but it's just Bob Saget though to me in that scene.
100%.
Like,
Yeah.
This is speaking of like quotes and things from movies, like movies that people quote without realizing. This is one of the best of all time.
Yeah.
Say there is shit everywhere in that voice. I say that all the time. I'd forgotten where I said, like I forgot where I got it from. And people will say that when you say there's shit everywhere, people will go, there is shit everywhere.
Look what he did! He shit all over the walls. Damn
And I'm
it!
like, oh,
The
it's
house is
just
full of shit.
And it's weird. I'm like, has this just become a thing that people is this just how people communicate that sentence now without realizing? Or I don't know, but it was shocking seeing that. I'm like, that's where I got it from. I knew I had it.
So no, that's a scene that was like the originals. That was burned into my head. That I've always recalled that scene, and I say that all the time. Like whenever it's that, it's just his performance is so good. And I was like, oh, that's right. I can't wait till the end when it happens with the car and he gets out. He's like, oh my god.
Yeah. When it happens again,
He's
like,
oh.
there is some fun. Like there are some funny moments in this movie. I think similar deal though. I wonder, Grant, if you'd seen this when you were young, you might have enjoyed it more.
Probably.
Because me and my sister rented this, like 2003. I don't know why, but in 2003 there was a string of low-budget films that me and my sister watched that we love, and there are like some of them hold up, and this one I'm like, it's a pretty bad movie, but there are still moments that I laugh at a lot, and I have a soft fondness for it. But like, I'm trying to think. One scene that, like, for instance, the slushy scene, I remember in my head that being the funniest shit ever. Yeah. But it's really not that funny. Not. Watching it again, I'm like, it's really just boring. But in my head, I'm still like, that was hilarious. But then there are things that are funny. Like, again, that scene with Bob Saget, where he's like, Charlie, what business are you in? My name's Walter. That's funny.
Even his reaction to that, he's like,
yeah.
Like,
he's
like, that's how I should respond to his business.
He's just eating the butter.
Yeah.
And like he throws the cinder block through his door, really, like through his window to get his attention. Very funny.
And then he can reach it anyway. The window's like at height level, so he just walks up to the window right afterwards.
And then like the doll hairs. I knew a guy at a cafe who used to say that. He's like, that's 5 doll hairs. And that's from this. Like, so there are a handful of moments that are funny, but overall the movie is pretty bad.
Lloyd telling him what to say through the window and then starts talking to the dog. Now what you looking at, you ugly monkey? And then Bob Saget just walks in looking at him like, what the fuck? Why are you saying that to you?
There was a few good moments like that. I think I was surprised to see, like, there's some actors in this movie too, like Eugene Levy,
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf. Big cast. Maybe Rogers is in it.
Rachel Nichols has done some stuff. Eldon Henson is Foggy from Daredevil.
Yeah, from Daredevil. Michelle Krusiak, she plays a character in Community. As soon as I saw her, she's like she's named Ching Chong in this.
No, yeah.
Which goes on to the biggest problem. This movie has aged atrociously.
Yeah.
Which, to be like, come out like 12 years after the first one and to age worse than the first one does. It really shows you.
Yeah. It's funny, right? It's like, because it's the same with the third one. It has aged worse in a lot of ways. I'm like, it's bizarre to me. I'm like, what happened? Why did, like, society... What happened with comedies where, on one hand, they sort of got I don't know, worse. What's going on there? Like, why are they becoming more dated? It's a very strange thing.
It is.
But yeah, like all of her stuff is really just like, it's not funny either. It's just like
no.
It's just that this is just really bad and real. Like that's like true lowbrow of I don't know, just easy pickings. And I was like, I feel bad watching it where I'm like, no one on set must have thought this was funny, but they're just like,
Yeah,
but
you'd think so. Shia LaBeouf is weird in it, but it's this is early days for him. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that cracks me up.
I think all the wider cast is pretty boring. Like all the other kids, none of them do a lot for me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other funniest thing I remember is the guy yelling football. He was like, football, yeah! Every time throughout high school, whenever like we're making fun of jocks or the guys playing footy, that's me and my friends would always just do that. We'd always go football.
Yeah.
So again, that lives like rent free in my head. But
the thing, it for a movie that's got 10%, it doesn't deserve 10% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What would you give it?
Okay, well, I believe the first one's got like 76% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not too sure, but it's higher. This one is like a solid 50%. It doesn't deserve 10%, man.
Like I agree. I think it's hated more than it's. This movie came out in a time when like it must have been 9/11. Something after 9/11 made everybody want to make like real. It was 9/11 and the DVD boom, I guess. But like there was a lot of really low budget straight to DVD prequels and like tiny little projects like this. Because this movie coming out, like a Dumb and Dumber movie coming out without Jim Carrey is not a movie at all, right?
It was cursed.
And you can tell that by like the fact they couldn't get any of the original cast. They had to go back and like just sort of they couldn't make it in the future. They probably wanted to make a sequel. And they're like, we have to make a prequel instead. So it's never going to be good, but like a movie like that is going to be hated no matter what. Like anyone who's a fan of the first one, unless you're a child, is going to be like, this movie shouldn't exist. Because we do that now. When they're making a sequel or a prequel to something with different characters, we'll be like, why are they making this? This is bad. It doesn't bode well. Like, so this is part of that that long history, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it gets more hate in that sense, but
100%.
I don't know. Grana, what would you give this out of 100%?
No, I mean, giving it a rating is weird, but I think like 50% is accurate. Like I think somewhere in there, like I think it's just a totally serviceable early 2000s comedy. Like there's other movies that I used to watch a lot that I feel like it's just not that much different to, like the movie Evolution. You guys remember that movie?
I love that movie.
I like it too, but I don't think it's like that much better than. I've watched it again not that long ago and didn't think it was that great. Like it didn't hold up that well.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't watched it.
Dude, Where's My Car? Like I feel like movies I used to watch a lot, but I don't think they're that much better than this movie.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Like by being originals, they were kind of more interesting.
Did you laugh, Granny?
Sorry?
Did you laugh?
Did I laugh? In this movie, yeah. But only a few times. Like the Bob Saget shit everywhere scene.
He's so good.
Got me.
Really
really got me.
Did you laugh when the gas station explodes? And it's got that weird guy. He's like, is that all you've got?
Oh, yeah. I must admit this movie is a little bit forgettable, but...
Oh, man.
There's a lot of gay jokes in this movie as well.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like you say, it's kind of weird how things got regressive there for a bit.
A lot of racist comments and
caricatures
and gay stuff. But
all right, we're gonna move on. Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah.
20 years since their first adventure, Lloyd and Harry go on a road trip to find Harry's newly discovered daughter, who was given up for adoption. What's a better title for a sequel to Dumb and Dumber? Dumb and Dumberer or Dumb and Dumber T.O.?
I actually think, I think Dumb and Dumberer is a better sequel.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, they probably knew that it was taken.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you a movie that deserves 10%. This fucking movie. Now, as someone who loved the original, though, I hate, man, this is the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. Like,
worse than
this
Clerks 2?
beats Clerks 2. Yeah.
Wow.
This is worse than Clerks 2. I felt I was offended that I had to watch it, and I put myself through this. And like, there was a moment where I was like, "There's still an hour of this movie left." Like, I am so over watching this movie, and I'm 40 minutes into it. This is what has me outraged about the second one having 10%, because the second one is funny. There's like, man, okay, I wrote a list of what's funny in this one because it took about an hour and 10 minutes to make me chuckle, and it was the train hitting the car as they get out after the flashbang goes off, and then the train smashes the car in the background. I chuckled at that. I was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that's a pretty good scene.
The dog car breaking down right after the jump, and just falling apart. I was like, okay, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah. The worst movie I've ever seen. I really, really did not enjoy this. I'd never seen it before. This is the only one I hadn't seen. Yeah. What were your guys' thoughts? Or am I alone in this?
Yeah, look, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I don't know. I didn't have a lot of fun with it.
Did you enjoy this more than the second one?
I'm trying to think. Maybe.
Totally?
Maybe no. I don't know.
Totally,
No.
fully.
I know. I definitely thought this was worse than the second one. Like,
Yeah.
part of it is nostalgia. Part of it is I think the second one does have some genuinely. So the prequel, second one, it has some genuinely funny moments.
Mm.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. This one has that. Dumb and Dumber 2 has that problem. Like, it's the legacy sequel problem where it's trying to sort of rehash all the old jokes and all the old things, but trying to update them as well. And it just does the wrong choices. Where you're like, you can't update 90s humor into 2010s humor. They just don't translate. You need different humor. And so what they choose is just really, some of it is, again, like, there's a lot more racism in this one than in the original. And it's like, why? This is such a weird choice, especially considering the political climate of 2014.
Mm.
Like, I don't know why you thought this was the way to go. So it's like, it's just it's every joke, because there's so many callbacks and references, and like even the things like, do you want to hear the second most annoying sound in the world? Yeah. It's just not funny.
Like, and I feel like they're trying to be like, hey guys, you know all the jokes you love from when you're a kid. Let's do it again. We're all older now. Let's do it again. They don't. They feel like less Lloyd and Harry than what they do in Dumb and Dumberer with the kids.
Yeah.
They feel way more dumb that it feels stupid. Like, it feels like Harry completely. When you go back and watch the first one after watching the third one, it's like, oh, Harry was kind of a normal person for the most part. He did stupid stuff. Harry in this one is just plain up, like, has a bit of a disability. Like, he is not smart at all. Like, almost ridiculous level.
Because in the first one, they can hold down jobs. They have dreams. They're actually trying to do stuff. Like, they
can only hold down jobs for like a week, though. Like, they make that pretty clear that they're having to go out and get new jobs every week.
But they're trying to get a worm farm thing going. Like, they have an idea and they're saving money. They're trying to save money for it.
Yeah.
Like, it's that kind of, they have ideas. And they sort of, they're normal people. They just they're really naive and aloof, and there's like a step missing. And so they don't realize they have to save their money. Yeah. So, like, we want to save, whereas in this one, it's more like, I mean, the problem starts at the very beginning. It's like Lloyd has been comatose for 20 years, but it's a joke. Like,
I don't know. That's not a little bit like that scene where Harry's wiping his ass?
Nah,
didn't go. Okay, I mean, it's real dumb. Like yanking out the catheter. That was a bit lowbrow for me, maybe, but I don't know. Where they do the flashback to him wiping his butt, I thought that was, I don't know, got me a little bit.
You're having a good time.
Yeah, a little bit. I've been changing a lot of nappies for the last 3 years.
You're like, relatable.
The idea of doing a grown man's nappy whose shit wasn't even necessarily his own.
I mean, that one quote is kind of funny.
But yeah, look, it's not a good movie. I think it's funny watching this because we just got done saying how good Jim Carrey is, and like, you know, he is the early 90s or the 90s personified, this great physical actor. And I'm thinking, man, he's so good. And then even in recent years, like he seems to have been like, oh, you know, I don't want to do, you know, I want to get out of Hollywood. I don't want to be a part of that scene. But then to watch this movie, like, I don't know. Surely they have some respect for the source material. They must know that this is crap, right?
Like, surely I feel like, you know, if you do a bit of research, you know, I swear, like, this is something that they try to do over and over again, and it just baffles me that this is when they were like, "All right, it's time to cash the chips in." Like this is the right script to do it, and
it's got to be
we're
money.
ready.
It's got to be.
Jeff Daniels is a great actor. Like he's a great actor, and I feel like he developed more after Dumb and Dumber. Like The Newsroom's a great show. I really enjoyed The Newsroom. And just to come back to it, and just like I don't enjoy the performances of both characters. They're both annoying in this one. They're both like I'm not rooting for them in this one. Like they're not redeeming. Like I'm not rooting for them in this one. So
I didn't do any reading for this. Because I'm curious about what exactly happened behind the scenes with all this stuff. But I think it must have just been a money thing, like because I think they were trying to get a sequel in the works for a while, and like it was at one point it was dropped and then picked up again. But yeah, you can kind of see like there is, I don't know, like they're having fun with each other. I think like they're just probably all hanging out on set, but like they're just different people. They're like it's 20 years difference. 20 years is a lot. Like you grow and change a lot, and Jim Carrey's had an interesting sort of life post his peak.
Yeah.
Like, he married that crazy person, and he himself is a little bit like he's just a very strange dude.
Yeah.
Like, tried to get out of Hollywood, tried to go down the serious route, tried to just quit acting entirely. Like, so I think that part of it is like they probably both needed a hit because Jeff Daniels, even though he's done stuff, he's also never quite had the same. Like, he's never really been able to headline a movie again.
No.
Like so I think for part of them, like that moment in time, they were both kind of wanted another big hit, and they probably would have been good money. But you are right; like neither of them feel quite like they are giving this performance much effort. They're just like, like they're acting as them acting. They're not actually like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. There, I don't know. It just feels like a extra layer detached.
And maybe I'm placing like too high expectations on them to care. Maybe I don't know.
No,
it just feels like they should have been able to do better. I don't know.
Like you said, like these characters in this movie, like it's iconic. Like it's loved by a lot of people. Like, obviously, this movie did well at the box office as well, despite how bad it is.
Yeah,
like you owed that. Like to go back to it. Like, it
is that interesting question. Hey, like sequels that are important to people and have had such a thing. Like, is there a responsibility there, or at the same time, it's like, well, it's just a cash cow, and people paid to see it.
Yeah,
and I don't know, like, is this movie any more sacred to us who enjoyed the first one, and than it is to Jim Carrey? It's probably not. It's probably like it made him sort of the star that he is. So I'm like, I don't know if he's happy to do this, then. Maybe we shouldn't be so precious with the Dumb and Dumber sequel. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know, like, I could watch Dumb and Dumber again 10 years from now, and I'll laugh. It's like, still, I don't think I'll ever watch this one again.
Oh, like, God, no.
As long as I live, I don't have any desire to watch this again.
Yeah. Like, there's just no enthusiasm in this movie by anybody.
No.
What did you guys think of Rob Riggle?
I like Rob Riggle.
I don't mind him in some stuff.
Yeah,
I like him in small doses, though. I think there's a little bit too much of him in this movie, probably, especially when they bring him back as his brother. I do like them painting him, like blend in with all these scenes. It's pretty good.
Apparently, that was no CGI.
Yeah, I read
actually
that.
painted him.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yeah, which is weird. I like him when he goes crazy. I love him in like 21 Jump Street.
Yes,
where he's just wide eyed and he's kind of manic.
He's good in Step Brothers as well when he's like interviewing them for a job.
Really good. Step Brothers, The Hangover, where he's the cop.
Small doses, like in my face. Like
he's he's a little bit more like grounded in this, where he's just he's not going wacky. And I still like him. Every time he turns up in something, I'm always kind of keen.
Yeah. Other than that, like the daughter's pretty dumb as well.
She's Actually, that's the really weird thing. This whole movie is based on this bizarre subplot of like he's trying to hook up with his daughter.
Yeah.
And it turns out it might be his own kid. And it's just like...
But then it's not even any of their kids.
Not either of their kids. And they're both virgins.
Yeah.
It's like the ultimate punchline of it.
That's kind of a funny payoff. Where it's like, we never had sex. It's like, oh yeah, of course they think that. But just the fact that he's like, the whole movie, he's like, yeah, I've really got to hook up with this hot young, like my best friend's daughter who's young. It's just creepy. And like he feels a lot more predatory in this one than he does in the original. Where the original is just, he's just obsessed. Yeah, exactly. It's just, and it's his friend's daughter. This just feels wrong. Stop that, man. Yeah. But that's just the whole thing's weird. The other one that was really weird is when he goes and they visit that old lady in the nursing home, and he's like, he fingers her, and it comes out, and he's just like, the puff of dust is just the strangest scene. It's just, I don't know.
Like also for a guy who's a virgin, he's getting to, what base is that? I don't know. It's just a weird, strange scene.
Very strange scene.
The kid with the bird comes back, the blind kid.
Yeah. And they screw him over again.
Yeah.
The cat.
That was
all right.
The blood of the birds, like the horror.
The whole other subplot of like this thing that's going to change, this invention that's going to change the world, and for some reason his daughter, who's super dumb, is going to go give a speech. Like that whole subplot is as dumb as the other subplots, I suppose. So maybe I shouldn't be looking for too much there, but
more dumb.
It is more dumb. You're right. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then he knew the whole time. It was like a setup to, he told the FBI. Like, for goodness sakes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, all very stupid.
Yeah. Not good.
No.
How do you reckon Ace Ventura would do coming back now?
Mm.
If Jim Carrey did Ace Ventura now.
Boy. I don't think, like, for starters, he's way too old. He can't, he just couldn't do the physicality that Ace Ventura needs.
He is genuinely great in the Sonic movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen his performance in that.
Which is why it's such a surprise that he's so bad in this. Like, because he seems like he's passionate about Sonic. He's passionate about Eggman because he puts it in, man. He puts effort into that. So
yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. No, I mean, I don't think any of these like legacy sequels ever really been good. Like we looked at one with Clerks last week. Yeah, sorry, Top Gun is an exception. Right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Maybe
they could give Ace Ventura the Top Gun treatment.
Okay,
but
maybe
I don't know what that looks like. But
maybe it's the comedies thing because, like, Scream as well. All the recent Screams have been pretty good.
Yeah, they're better. I feel like.
Yeah, I guess I wonder if it's just a comedy thing, like because, like we said, comedy is so sort of specific to people and to time and to place, right? Like, stoner comedy was huge in the 70s and the 60s and 70s when it was like it sort of had a cultural precedent. And like comedy goes through these ways, right? Like you get these SNL people and they have like 5-10 years of this certain type and that works for people. And then it moves on because culture moves on and it's like different things become, in the conversation. And so that's what we find funny. And so I think whenever you bring it back, it's just like you can't rehash what was once funny. You need to just do something original. So unless you completely reinvent the character, you're sort of playing a losing game.
It's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
It's not funny in this day and age, and these movies are kind of a good testament to that the first one is less offensive than the second one, which is less offensive than the third one. And you feel like, everyone considers that in culture and society, we've become, more woke and more against stuff that's offensive, but as these movies went on, they got more and more offensive.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that movie could come out today.
No, bringing this out now, it wouldn't work. And like Ace Ventura, maybe you really got me thinking about Ace Ventura now because it's got the just raw physicality. There's so much more slapstick, but
yeah, the only thing with Ace Ventura for me is that it is really just Jim Carrey, and maybe he's still got it somewhere there. I mean, obviously he's not really doing much in this movie, but I feel like Jeff Daniels also lets this movie down.
Yeah,
and the whole plot as well. But yeah. Don't know.
Do we get Dumb and Dumber 3? Do we get another one? You reckon?
The dumbest, Dumb and Dumbest.
Dumb and Dumbest, yeah. Because the sequel did business. Sequel made money.
You're right.
10 years ago.
Yeah, like you're right. Yeah. The world the industry has changed a lot.
Yeah.
Mate,
it will
do you
be
think we ever get a
series.
reboot? Well, they kind of already tried that, I guess, too, with Dumb and Dumber.
And the
Yeah,
industry
that's-
killed it.
I don't think comedies are like ripe ground for reboots either. We haven't seen a lot of them.
No, because just write something new. Like at that point, it's like, what are you holding on to if you call something Dumb and Dumber? Is it these characters? Is it still Lloyd Christmas, or is it just two people that are idiots? And at that point, why is it even Dumb and Dumber? Just have it be.
That's
show
right.
about two idiots.
Yeah, and like Dumb and Dumber speaks to that, right? Nobody saw it. Like tiny box office return because it didn't have Jim Carrey. Like Jim Carrey Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels are these characters in this franchise. Yeah, comedy doesn't have doesn't have the same IP value as other things, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
But then again, you think that, and then we have stuff like Young Sheldon coming out, and now Young Sheldon's having a spin-off come out as well. So
Boy,
it's TV though. TV is a bit more desperate. You'd like to think, anyway. Like I don't know. I think there's maybe movies out there that get reboot. I don't think this is one. Like I could see The Hangover getting a reboot.
yeah,
yes, actually, and that's. But again, I was thinking about this the other day. Like The Hangover, I don't know if we mentioned this when we did it, but The Hangover truly is like the split in comedies where comedy changed so dramatically and like shifted away from people like Will Ferrell and like these standalone comedians who carry it and switched into like more concept zanier sort of just a whole different vehicle.
Yep.
And so you're right, The Hangover could do because it was much more about the concept and that idea rather than look at Bradley Cooper, everyone's favorite comedian. Like, yeah, you could get a Hangover in 2024 and see what that looks like. Whereas anything before, like you couldn't get an Anchorman reboot. Right?
I know. I had the same thing. Thought about Anchorman. Like, could you do Anchorman reboot? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Was there not an Anchorman that came out recently?
There was an Anchorman 2
a couple years ago,
which I never saw.
I did. I mean, it wasn't as good. It just wasn't as good. Another one that came to mind was Zoolander. Like, it's one that got a kind of a legacy sequel. Didn't do well.
Didn't do well. Yeah, the thing you can't do with comedies. It's just not.
Someone will do it. Someone will prove us wrong.
Just for Nolan.
Who tries his first comedy and just hits it out of the park? Like, who are the? I don't know. What are the big comedies now though? Like, are there any that have even been out this year?
Like this thing, I remember last year when what's it? Karen, what is it? The one with Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, No Hard Feelings.
No Hard Feelings. I remember when that was coming out, I was like, oh god, this feels weird, like a comedy movie coming out, like as a summer blockbuster. I was excited about it. And I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was really funny, but I don't think it did too well at the box office or anything like that.
No, yeah, that was a big talking point around that movie. Was like, this is one of the first classic comedies like we would have had 10 years ago. But yeah, like I think it was day and date release as well, which really cut us off at the knees. But
yeah, because man, then there was that whole era with just Kevin Hart being in everything.
Yeah,
he's never been funny.
Grana, you're muted.
You're on mute, Grana.
Sorry, I was going to say, is Borderlands the new comedy? Is that
Minecraft next?
Yeah, I was going to say there's the Jumanji movies, that style of movie that are fairly recent.
That's what I thought of. That's what I thought of when I thought of Kevin Hart. And Jack Black.
Man. The comedies, like, I've heard people say that Marvel killed comedies, right? Like, the Marvel movies kind of took the space that comedies had. And maybe that's right. Well, they also killed action movies and everything else too.
See, that's the thing. I remember when I watched the first Guardians and I was like, oh man, I feel like this is the funniest movie I've seen in a long time. Like, there's a lot of humor in this. And then obviously every Marvel movie had Guardians of the Galaxy humor in it after that. And then you had Deadpool, and Deadpool was its own different breed of comedy. Even with the newest Deadpool, like I feel like, that leans in a lot to comedy, a lot more than anything else. And it is its own thing, but it's just a standalone comedy with.
Is Fall Guy a comedy?
That's an action. That's an action comedy, though, right?
But it's more on comedy than action.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Fall Guy, but it bombed. It bombed.
Yeah, it didn't do too well.
There was that Mean Girls reboot thing.
But that was a musical as well.
And nobody likes musicals. Nobody.
No. That's why I didn't.
Ricky Stenicki, which is by the Farrelly brothers, or one of them.
With John Cena.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a legacy. I don't know. It's a weird time for comedies. You're right. I don't know what brings it back.
There was that whole like cock blocked era, like with John Cena and stuff like that. There were a few comedies that came out.
Yeah.
People were...
Like they always make them. There's never the problem is comedies are made for streaming now. Like they just kind of come in and they feel like Netflix's library.
Hitman.
Whereas Hitman, like I mean, good example. But then like you think back to like seeing Anchorman, right? Like every single person saw that movie.
Yeah.
Like there was a time when in the movies, like the comedy would be the biggest movie of the year, and everybody would go out to see it.
Yep.
And for whatever reason now, whether it be Marvel killed it or I don't know, nothing's funny after 9. It's all 9/11. I'm telling you,
woke culture killed comedy.
It's not, and the wokes. Yeah, it's just I don't know. We just don't have the same like we don't have a comedic actor the way we used to. You know, like you used to have Jim Carrey who'd sell a movie or Will Ferrell who'd sell a movie.
You need someone that's like got that physical comedy.
Well, the thing that they do now though is that they put John Cena in that role now, right? Like
it was like John Cena was that for a little while. They kept being like, "Is John Cena the next comedy guy?"
I mean, Barbie was comedy.
Yeah.
That was huge. That was the biggest movie last year. But I know that's not because it was a comedy. But that movie is a comedy.
I guess
it's still 12 months ago though. Yeah. Like this in the last 12 months, there has not been a lot of true comedies.
No.
Like if you look at Google's giving me a list here, and they're like,
it was Fly Me to the Moon.
Yeah, Fly Me to the Moon. Is that a comedy? I don't think. I never got that impression.
It's like a romantic comedy, I think. But yeah, it was marketed really strangely.
Same as Anyone But You.
Yeah, that did well. But yeah, romantic comedy.
That was a rom-com. Yeah.
Yeah, slightly different. Like
it's interesting. I wonder if it'll have a comeback, have a renaissance. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right, we got way off track there. Are we going to rank Dumb and Dumber? It's got to be. I think it's 1, 2, 3. Honestly,
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, 2. Not as bad as it's made out to be. I think.
No, it is weird to think that like the sequel with the original team is worse than the prequel.
Yeah,
but here we are.
Yeah, exactly. They should have incorporated the prequel into the sequel. I tell you, it would have killed had Bob Saget showed up at some point and been like, "Oh my god, it's you!" And Harry's got
was he still alive in 2014?
Oh,
is Bob Saget dead?
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh no! What?
Oh, no. This is how I find out. 2022, he was alive and kicking.
I knew it was recent, but I also thought this movie came out in 2022. So,
you know, it would have been great if the time warp happens and there's 2 sets of Harry and Lloyd, and they have to go back and kill their younger selves. That's a good idea.
Very funny. Yeah. Sounds very funny.
That's good comedy.
Sounds like a great comedy plot.
Shit.
Oh, that's some hot tub time machine. Shit.
Yeah, that's a good comedy.
All right. It's time to move on. It's coming up to October. Time to get spoopy. We're trying to figure out what we're going to watch. I don't know. It'll be a spooky surprise. We're looking at. What are we looking at? What is the Maxine trilogy called, Conan? Is it the X-Pearl Maxine? Is that what it is?
I think I've heard it is called like the Maxine trilogy or Ty West's trilogy or the Mia Goth trilogy. But X-Pearl Maxine is what that is.
And then there's Terrifier. Is that?
Yeah, Terrifier 1, 2,
3. And if we can't, we're going to try and do one of those 2. If we can't get them, it'll be Blair Witch Project.
Yep.
So if you want to follow along with that, watch one of those and we'll let you know which one we pick, depending on streaming services and everything else.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us for The Good, the Bad, and the Worst. Please rate and rank us on iTunes. This podcast is brought to you by 2 books. By Conan Clark.
Good comedies.
And The Taste of Iron. Hilarious. I laugh a minute. But check them out. They're more appropriate for October. A little bit spoopy. Get that into you. Thanks for joining us. Rate us on iTunes and Spotify. Tell your friends about us, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.